Previously on Path of the Titans.
Yes! That's an Aram's weapon. That is a challenge done. Finally. So, from chest 850 onwards, we stopped killing Linza in a bid to try and complete the Hydrix challenge before this episode. So that goal of completing a Hydrix challenge before last episode didn't really work out, but that just sets us up to do it this time. So we kicked off the week over at Barrows, and we started things off pretty strong. Hey, a 5th Amulet of the Forsaken. Should probably sell those while they're still like 30 mil, whatever they are. And for someone who quit WoW due to wrist problems, back to amulets? What is that luck? Well, it's now joined my highest drop rate item again, which is nice. So it seems like my luck is a lot of the same. I get good luck, but not luck that's specifically useful to the challenge. That said, it didn't take too long before we saw another new unique. Darok's plate body. That's a new unique. No, I wasn't at 3 out of 4 on Darok. I was at 2. That's the 6th set at 3 out of 4. That said, it didn't take long for the weird luck to strike again, and we completed our first set of armor from Barrows. A full set of Ghost Hunter. I completed the Ghost Hunter set before completing any Barrows set. Okay. But with all of our weird luck out of the way, it didn't take long for us to get a chest where it finally happened. Carol's skirt. Is that the right one? That's the right one, right? Yeah, I think we actually have a full set. Yeah, we have a complete Carol's set. We now have a full Carol's set. So we have completed the Hydrix challenge for Barrows. So Hydrix challenges work differently from other challenges. Rather than being required to progress through the tier, each Hydrix challenge we complete gives us access to a reward from the Hydrix reward table. So let's go check out what's in that table. The Hydrix reward table starts off with 16 items in it, including archaeology perks, the Zerka auras, along with various unique pieces of combat equipment and even some consumables. At tiers 4 and 6, this table will be expanded slightly. At tier 4, we'll add the ability to buy items from the Dungeoneering reward vendor, as well as access to attuned crystal equipment. And then at tier 6, we'll add some Slayer drops, as well as the Rise of the Six shields as options. But for now, we need to pick one of the first 16 items to be our reward. And the reward we're going to be going with is the ability to create and reclaim god books. Right now, we don't have a particularly good use for our pocket slot outside of using a Scrimshaw or Vampirism, so this gives us a nice big damage buff for all the styles. So I want the Bandos book because it's an accuracy buff. How do I get the books I already had but destroyed? Oh, okay, so I have to reclaim them from a bookcase in my player-owned house. I need to go buy 3 mahogany planks, I guess. Oh, I couldn't just reclaim the illuminated ones. Oh, I just wasted 100k. Okay, now let's go get some Bandos Well, we need pages for all the books, but we can get some Bandos pages and repair that book. The Bandos book will probably be useful at like Nex or something. It's a pretty niche book to use, but when it's useful, it's very useful. So it's copy text, embellish, add color, and add gold leaf. And now we get an illuminated book of all. So we now have 3 of the illuminated god books. I don't think any of the others are particularly useful. If anyone can think of a use for them, then let me know. But we can just pick them up if they end up being useful later. So we picked up the illuminated god books of Wisdom, War, and Law. The Wisdom book is the simplest. It's just a 6.6% chance to strike the enemy with lightning, which is a nice magic damage hit. It's pretty cheap to run, so it'll be useful for farming stuff like Linza. The Book of War has the same proc chance and does a little bit of damage, but its main effect is that it reduces the target's defense and increases their affinity, both of which basically just translate to increasing your accuracy against the target once it procs. The Book of Law is slightly different. It has a 5% proc chance and summons a tornado at your target's location, dealing 4 individual smaller hits. This is great for bosses that don't move, or stuff like Nex, which has aggressive damage caps in place. Now we're done with full Barrows runs, we're pretty much done with making profit from the boss, so it's time to gather up our loot and start selling it off, because we're going to need quite a few supplies for what's coming next. So let's see how much we're about to make from all this. 166 mil. I don't think I need that much. Maybe I won't sell the blood runes, because I'll have to buy those back. Also, those mind runes do actually add up, despite not being worth that much individually. So when selling multiple of an item, unless you need the cash instantly, it's always worth buying one to find out what the trading price is. So in the case of mine runes, they're currently insta buying for 21 GP. So if I put them in at 21 GP, I get an extra 2 mil. They're going to take ages to sell for that, but I don't need the money immediately. That's what the Bearer's Amulets are for. I think I'm going to hold on to the Bloods, because those are very useful, and it's not worth selling them just to incur a cost rebuying them because of the 2% tax. Let's sell these one at a time. See what they insta sell for. 22.6. And then I'll put these two in for 25 mil each and just slow sell them. So with all of our stuff slow selling, it's time to start making some investments. The plan is to go to Linza pretty soon, and for that, we're going to be picking up a cannon. When you're doing only Linza, the primary bottleneck to your Barrows runs is how quickly you can kill Linza. Since we only have tier 70 weapons, we're going to need all the help we can get, and we're aiming for about a minute kill time. As for why I'm buying a cannon instead of an Oldak coil, you actually need to make the Oldak coil through invention, and we don't have access to invention yet. And we're also going to be picking up the cannon upgrade kit, which doubles the damage of the cannon. So the Dwarf multi-cannon is normally a pretty bad upgrade to buy early on, or specifically the upgrade kit, because it's like 54 mil. But since we can't really just dump gear into better weapons and armor, it's worth buying it in our situation. See if it buys for 5% over. Okay, I'm going to leave that to slow buy. We also picked up some cannonballs for the cannon, which is going to be where a lot of our money starts going once we get the Linza kills rolling, as well as starting to pick up some god pages for our god book. I'm going to focus on using the Saradomin book early, because we don't really need accuracy anywhere right now, and it's the cheapest book to run of the 2 DPS ones. While waiting for the cannon upgrade kit to buy, we decided to go work on a mold challenge instead, specifically the challenge to rack up 50 hard mode KC. It's not quite exciting a challenge as going for a full Barrows set, but some determinism is helpful for your sanity. Okay, I actually need to pick up a couple of things for Mole, as well as maybe change my gear a bit, because there's no way that Ghost Hunter is going to work on Mole. So I'm going to need some Sarah Brews. Ooh, the sword. There we go. Now we're healthy money-wise. I'm going to need some of these, because when you get shoved in the dirt, you can only use potions. And one of the easiest ways to die here is you get shoved in the ground in the last phase, and the mole will do another special right on top of you, and that usually is what kills you. For mole, I think I'm just going to mage it, because I would use range, but the Carol's crossbow doesn't have the ability to use any ammo other than bolt racks, so you won't be able to get ammo effects. And so using mage, I can at least vuln. Plus, I already have the skeletal. Oh yeah, extreme magics, I need to increase the offer because they are not buying. Okay, those still aren't buying. Okay. That's unfortunate. They're not going for triple the guide price. Yeah, every extreme potion is mental right now. How much is a Vecna Skull? 600k? I guess we'll just use a Vecna Skull. So we'll take the Power Burst, some Sarah Brews to not die to the berry mud prison thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's close enough to ice prison that I'm going to call it mud prison. This should be good. So Dragon Two-Hander, which is our Onyx challenge here, has a higher drop rate in hard mode than in normal mode. I forgot runes. Okay, let's try this again. So this attack after the mud prison in the last phase is what seems most likely to kill you here. If by the end of this 50 kills I still want to do hard mode, I'll be a bit surprised, I'll be honest, because for some reason Mole's mud prison is more powerful than Nex's ice prison in that You can't freedom it. Okay, first one down. Blood runes. 90 blood runes. That's actually a pretty good drop. The more is really annoying with ads in hard mode. Seems to call for them more frequently. Oh, I also forgot weapon poison. That would help. Oh, okay. This is the situation where I brought the power. What I brought the power burst for. When the mole uses its mud prison and then does the double dig on you, that can kill you quite easily. Just standing there and tanking 3 to 4k damage from mechanics is peak Runescape for you. You can't dodge the rock falls. So when you get buried, rocks fall on your head, and if you move, that follows you. Comp is one of those weird things that I feel like I want to do, but it just doesn't ever align with anything that I actually feel like doing. Like, I'm going for, I guess, what would you call it, true max? Like getting all the actual 120s to 120 on my main at the moment, which is technically a comp requirement, but I'm doing that because, well, this might sound weird, but I actually enjoy most of the skills that go to 120. Slayer I enjoy a lot, Dungeoneering I actually enjoy. I know a lot of people don't like Dungeoneering. Herblore is kind of a free one on a main, and then farming is just free in general because player and farm. Oh, and I completely forgot about Invention. Yeah, that one's free too. Am I going to add Necromancy bosses to the list when it comes out? So the plan when Necromancy comes out is the first week it's out, I'm just going to play through it on my main. Once I've played through it on my main, I'll actually know enough to figure out how it fits in. What I'm currently thinking is it will either, some of the later tiers might be shuffled around a little to include the Necromancy bosses if they integrate nicely. If they don't, then what it might be is it might just be like an offshoot thing or like a side bit between a couple tiers to just basically add Necromancy to my available combat options. Like the main thing I want to make sure doesn't happen is that if I add Necromancy and then I end up creating a situation where I've got access to like tier 90 Necromancy, but only tier 80 and other styles, so then I only end up playing Necromancy, or vice versa, where Necromancy can't get its tier 90 for eaches. So I'm not committing to anything specific, but I am going to try and include Necromancy in the series in some form. That clip basically perfectly summarizes my opinion about Necromancy. I need to play it in order to know what it's going to be like, and thankfully I just happen to have the week that Necromancy is being added to the game off as holiday from work anyway, so the plan is to just play it through on my main that week. Maybe we'll end up skipping an episode of this series just to focus on Necromancy, because new shiny skill, who doesn't love that? And then we'll try and find a way to incorporate it into the series. I'm actually really excited for Necromancy because it seems to address a lot of the minor issues that I have with the RuneScape combat system, such as having too many basics that are basically just fireball with different cooldowns, along with a few other things that I'm really hoping over the next few years will start rolling into the other combat styles. I just hope like I don't play it and then, you know, not want to play the other three styles, because that's gonna make this series a bit awkward. But I highly doubt that. Despite my issues with the RS3 combat system, I actually enjoy playing with it. It's one of those things of, could it be better? Yes. Is it enjoyable? Also yes. Can it be frustrating at times? Also yes. But honestly, I got that exact same thing from WoW as well. Like, a good example is I played tank, and our weapon as a blood DK in about a year ago now summoned a little spirit that you couldn't hit with AoE damage. So you had to manage to hit it with a single target ability while you're also pulling like 50 Murlocs or something. It was ridiculous. And they made it so that macros couldn't target them. Oh, that was the 50th. I forgot to click the kill thing last time. There we go. Another challenge complete. That is 50 moles down. So with that challenge down, we've only got 2 challenges left in tier 1. We've got the Dragon 2-hander from Mole, and we've got the Linzer's Hammer from Barrows. And we're going to be focusing on the hammer first. So let's dive into how we're going to be doing our Linzer runs. Linzer is affected by the Ghost Hunter outfit, so we're wearing 3 pieces of that for the 10% damage buff. And then consumables wise, we're using an Extreme Magic, a Weapon Poison +++, and the Saradomin book. The reason we're using magic instead of one of the other styles is because it gives us access to vulnerability, and also using fire spells we have 100% accuracy, whereas with melee we were slightly below. As for some advice with the cannon, if you place it where I've got it set up by standing in this square, and then have Linza in one of these two squares, the cannon will fire twice every rotation instead of once. This combined with our upgrade kit actually quadrupled the damage output of our cannon compared to just not having the cannon upgrade kit and having her in the wrong spot. With this setup, we were able to get to 1 minute kills relatively consistently. It mostly just depended on me remembering to vuln. But then as soon as you kill Linza, it's just running between all the other sarcophaguses looking for the tunnel, because you don't care about killing any other brothers. And on the note of that, it's time to talk Linza drop rates. So, the way Linza works is every time you kill her and open the chest, you get a 1 in 192 chance to get a Linza item. It is unaffected by killing any other brothers or killing any number of critters, so when we only want Linza items, it's literally just kill Linza and beeline for the chest. When we timed it in stream, we were doing about 20 runs an hour. Now, considering her drop rate is almost 1 in 200, that means we're only getting 1 drop every 10 hours, assuming we were actually getting them on drop rate. Since we're starting this grind with over 400 Linza kills already and no pieces, that's already not looking particularly great. Each Linza piece does have the same chance of dropping, so that means each individual Linza item is a 1 in 960, which sounds insane, but Linza released with a drop rate of 1 in 512 instead of 1 in 192, which means each piece used to be 1 in 2560. If that was still the drop rate nowadays, I would not have set this challenge. But realistically, we're talking at least 48 hours worth of Linza just to hit the drop rate for the hammer, which means I'm not going to do anything silly like promise a hammer before the end of this episode, but I am going to at least go over what we have gotten so far. Hey, our first Linza item. That is 1 Linza item down, and it's the shield. Which does mean we now have a tier 80 shield for resonance switching, but it's not the hammer, so we continue. As alluded to there, the Linza shield is actually the only Linza item I can foresee a use for other than the Linza's hammer. A tier 80 shield that we can use for resonance switches that is also augmentable is going to be incredibly useful to us going forward. And clan chat's getting weird again. There we go! Second Linza item! Not a hammer, but second Linza item. So this first cuirass might actually be useful to us depending on whether or not we end up needing undead components in the future. Linza's cuirass can be augmented, leveled up to level 9, and then disassembled for 20 undead components. The primary use for those is equipment separators, so this might end up saving us needing to recraft some perks in the future. And if you've been keeping an eye on the timer of the video, you might be like, wait, is that it? And in which case, you're in the same boat as me, because this week we managed to increase our Linza kill count to roughly 900. It's an estimate because I can't find anywhere in game to actually track the real value, so I'm just basing it off of the time of my recordings and streams. And on the note of recordings and streams, I could give you a montage of us getting absolutely nothing, but that's serving no purpose for anyone. So instead, I'm just going to get back to grinding and try and get us a hammer for next episode. If we can manage to do so before the weekend, then I feel pretty good that next episode will be the end of Tier 1. However, that's entirely down to the RNG gods at this point. So for now, I'll be saying thank you very much for watching this episode. If you got to this part of the video, I'm going to assume you liked it. If so, you know what to do. And I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll catch you again next time, where we'll be hopefully saying hello to some new bosses.